Greetings, my name is Bihus, and you are watching Our Money, the program on anti-corruption investigations. Today we'll talk about a popular way of having fun, which doesn't have anything fun about it, only dirt, politics, and money. Lotteries. Well, what kind of lotteries? A simple paper ticket is the last thing which comes to mind when talking about the Ukrainian lottery business. In this word association game, the first thing I'd come up with is slot machines. The second is bookmakers, and the third is online casinos. All this is gambling business, which is absolutely prohibited in Ukraine. But there's a loophole. Lotteries are allowed. Call a slot machine an electronic instant lottery machine, and that's it. You have around $4,000 per month of income. I know, this sounds like a promotion, but let's be honest. Go outside, look how the advertising signs of this forbidden business compete in hype and brightness. They don't need any promotion, do they? We've made around half a dozen investigations about the outrageous situation with the gambling business. We showed the owners of this or that operator. We talked about their links to politicians and officials. We talked about the off-the-books money, tremendous losses to the state budget. It's going to be bigger today. Imagine if every gambling operator was controlled by a single company, regardless of their individual owners. Imagine that this company is controlled by a very tight circle of the members of the ruling party. Imagine that this monopoly is entrenched by the government, which it is, and that the money from every gambling machine goes to a single pocket. What do you think? When will the pocket burst? Next, Elisa Yurchenko's detailed report on how we got here. They are at every corner, near your homes, on the way to the market, and to the office. In Ukraine, where gambling is banned, gambling halls are ubiquitous. That's where people lose all their money. This looks unappealing, and not very European. This is Prague. I'm deliberately walking from the edge of the city to the center to play a lottery, slots, or a casino. They have everything here. Carpets, lingerie, bars, restaurants. No gambling halls on every corner. I didn't even find the classic paper lotteries. Despite the ubiquity of gambling halls in Ukraine, they don't pay much in taxes. This year we have collected less than $7.6 million from lottery operators. This is enough for 5 days of financing of the national police, which doesn't bother the gambling operators, or for 2 months of financing of the parliament, which created the illusion of banning gambling business instead of regulating it. That's how it works. A part of the operators were completely off the books, illegally and evading taxes. The other halls operate under the disguise of an e-lottery, because the parliament didn't ban lottery operators. That's how the online casinos, slot machines, and bookmakers hide. They cooperate with a lottery operator. That's a company which has a lottery license and issues lottery tickets. The gambling halls often have both the lottery software and the banned one. If you enter any facility, you're given a choice of several programs, old or new ones. You can either play the lottery or, say, the casino. The taxes get paid only on the terminals connected to the treasury. The operators try to avoid seating clients in front of the terminals selling actual lotteries, because then they would have to pay taxes. Naturally, using the lottery operator's license isn't free. 35 to 36% of the turnout per month. For the software, documents, and, the immunity from inspections, and so on. You may have noticed that some halls have two names. Here's the Cosmolot chain, and it has an extra logo. Ukrainian National Lottery, Cosmolot, Favorite Sport, Golden Chalice, Lotto Platinum, many of them. All of them, however, work under the umbrella of a single operator, the Ukrainian National Lottery, UNL for short. Recently, a namesake of the banned bookmaker Parimatch got under the UNL's umbrella. Try to guess what they're advertising: the lottery Parimatch or the banned bookmaker Parimatch. That's my first time with an e-lottery. Only 3 private companies have lottery licenses. The biggest of them is the UNL. It became the biggest in 2016. It was the smallest under Yanukovych. Now, new gambling chains emerge under the UNL's umbrella, and the company itself is linked to the president's team. The first evidence of the connection emerged at the end of 2015, when Alexander Tretyakov, a member of parliament from the Petro Poroshenko bloc, appeared at the UNL's office. The politician visited the office when it was being searched during a corporate conflict. The then co-owners of the UNL, foreign and domestic ones, had an argument. The Swiss Peter Shetty made loud statements from the foreign side. Right now I'm receiving information that high-standing patrons of our partner, Kovalenko, are trying by all means to return UNL under their ownership. The Ukrainian co-owner, Valery Kovalenko, did not make any public speeches. Instead, the MP Alexander Tretyakov came to watch the searches. But there to watch the searches was MP Alexander Tretyakov, Kovalenko's friend with parliamentary immunity. The argument was later settled. The foreign investors left the company, and the MP Tretyakov suddenly revealed a buyout agreement for a part of UNL shares. I have an option there. I'll buy it out when my term is over. The politician didn't admit being a co-owner of the UNL, but he said that he was going to formalize the relations later. In a year, we asked him if there were any changes. Did you exercise your right to buy out the UNL shares? Why did you keep silent? Did you exercise your right to buy out or not? Well, we tried to ask him, but the MP kept his mouth shut. The owners have recently changed there. What could that mean? Do you know the Hong Kong resident Michael John Fogo?
Michael John Fogo.
Alexander, why are you silent? Tretyakov didn't say anything on camera about his links to the gambling operator. But we'll add something. A company historically close to the MP suddenly started leasing premises to the UNL. What is this office and why is it leased? For more than a year, the biggest lottery operator, UNL, has been paying the ATEC 95 for rent and related services. The ATEC 95 firm, in turn, has been paying a salary to Alexander Tretyakov's wife. We're going to the 9th floor. Tretyakov himself was an official co-owner and director of the ATEC firm, the office of which now houses the Ukrainian National Lottery. That's the request. I'm leaving it here. Leaving it here? Yep. This ad was shown on TV at the beginning of this year. A single lottery operator under state control means large legal taxes. There are several owners of lottery licenses in Ukraine, but there should be only one. That's what the ad hinted at. And that must be a good thing, because the taxes must soar. According to our data, this ad was paid for by the Ukrainian National Lottery. A decision by the Ministry of Finance could have transformed the UNL into a monopoly, into the only holder of a lottery license in the entire country, which could cooperate with other operators for a share of their income. We won't allow a monopoly in the market. How? Well, we'll see. Thank you. We asked the UNL to comment on many issues. Whether they'd ordered the promotion of a lottery monopoly was among them. The request was accepted. Okay, I'll hand it over to the director. Our data was recorded. Can I see your press pass? Of course. But they didn't reply. However, the MP Alexander Tretyakov agreed to meet off-camera. He gave us a lot of printouts saying that lottery monopoly isn't a bad thing and that it exists in many other countries. The UNL could have become a monopolist thanks to the Ministry of Finance. Last year, the ministry proposed to adopt new license requirements for lottery operators. It's outside the legal field. The operators who conduct their activities do this under expired licenses. And to collect $13 million for the lottery licenses, which haven't been renewed in a long time. This is the cost of the 2 licenses we plan to issue. The great idea to renew the licenses and contribute to the budget had a dark side. Out of 3 current license holders, only 1 could renew it. I think that the market won't be monopolized because the Ministry of Finance won't allow this. On the ministry's conditions, only the UNL was eligible for the license because of a ban on licensing sanctioned companies. The other 2 companies got on the National Security Council sanctions list back in September 2015. New players wouldn't be able to get the license either because of a requirement of 10 years work experience on the Ukrainian lottery market. If we see the monopolization of the market, we will take measures to take it down. Hypothetically, one of the state banks could have paid for the license, but they never did lotteries, despite the Oshad Bank having a right to. So the answer about how the ministry would prevent a monopoly sounded vague and uncertain. Okay, give me the next questions. I don't like the questions about the lotteries. If the license requirement had been adopted, this would have meant that 2 of 3 lottery operators were to be closed, or to be subjugated by the single monopolist as a compromise. That means to become mere distributors of its lotteries and pay it a share of the proceedings. A single lottery operator under state control. So, there are several Ukrainian companies that have lottery licenses which could provide cover for illegal gambling businesses. You can see that I don't mince words. I don't like any of these words. There's a huge problem with these companies as well. More on that in the next section of the program. But currently, the entire gambling business in the country was monopolized by a single company, which has a significant interest of the MP from PPB. After achieving de facto monopoly, it wants to have a de jure monopoly, legally approved at the state level in regulatory acts and the citizens' consciousness. Our team has watched it unfold for years. For years, we've listened to the answers of the Ministry of Finance going, well, the lottery issue isn't really relevant right now, let's give it some time. So, the time has come. Next, a report about the most disgusting choice. Which 2 players were going to be shut down? The closest competitor of UNL is the MSL. After the sanctions went into force, its official annual turnovers went down from more than $75 million to $11.5 million. The sanctions themselves restrict the operator's activities, but that's mostly true for international activities. Talking about our Ukrainian activities, the halls are open, the lotteries are held, the jackpots get played every game. And the taxes are paid in the amounts not restricted by the sanctions. It's impossible to pay them all. This is a debt which gets constantly accumulated and then recorded by the tax service, because our accounts are blocked. The company got on the sanctions list because of info that it had ties to the Russian Mikhail Fridman's Alpha Group. The Defense Council said that it threatens national security and finances terrorism. Then the lottery operator filed a lawsuit for the SBU to check it for involvement in terrorism. Now the case is closed. The terrorism financing charges were not proven, and the MSL is lately being linked to 2 other MPs. The first is the ex-party of region's Vitaly Khomotinik, credited with a share of the Cyprus company, which owns the MSL. Do you have any ties to the Cyprus-based Evolot Limited? Do you own its shares? What is this? Are these company names? Yes, the Cyprus firm Evolot. I don't know it. The second is Serhiy Pashinsky of the People's Front. There are talks about his involvement to tackle the firm's problems. All this Moscow mafia uses corrupt journalists to attack me through the media from time to time. He answers with cliches about Russian and Yanukovych's henchmen. I don't accept money from Yanukovych. I don't have any businesses but the declared ones. According to the leadership of the MSL, their Cyprus offshore has several co-owners. They only name a Cypriot and past Ukrainian shareholders on camera. Markos Chiapanis is a real person who has been engaged in the lottery business for over 30 years in Cyprus, in Greece too, and somewhere else. So you insist that he's a de facto owner? He is a de facto owner, not the sole one. There are others too. But the company did not only show all the owners, but all the beneficiaries as well before. When there were all these investigations about the sanctions, we said that we had nothing to hide, and to come see for yourself. They looked, and the SBU looked for about 6 months. The third lottery operator is the Patriot. In 2015, our program reported that its owner is the Russian businessman Oleg Boyko, who officially finances the Russian army. And that's the Russian state lottery launched by Boyko as well. At home, Boyko runs it as a part of the strategy for the development of the Russian armed forces. He transfers almost all the profits to the army. He fills his own pockets in Ukraine with the Patriot. The Patriot's management assures us that previous shareholders are out of the business, and the new final beneficiary is a Ukrainian banker, Alexander Morozov. But they declined to give any comment on camera, and the once biggest lottery company lost most of its might. In 2014, it had a turnover of more than $300 million. In 2017, it was less than 15,000. They only sell paper lottery tickets now. At the beginning of 2018, with two of the three biggest lottery players down, ads advocating for lottery monopoly begin to appear on television. And the MP from PPB, Alexander Tretyakov, gets printouts listing all the alleged pros of the monopoly. Lottery monopoly does indeed exist in European countries. State monopoly is not what we understand under this term in Ukraine. The Anti-Monopoly Committee says that lottery monopolies in Europe are mostly classic paper lotteries. The right to issue them belongs either to the state, a single state lottery company runs classic lotteries. And that's the case in France, for example. Or to a private firm chosen through a competition. Examples include Great Britain and Austria. But that's how it works there. The state holds a competition or a tender. Several companies compete between themselves with business plans, responsibilities to the state that they are ready to accept. The state chooses the best one for a certain term. It can emerge in Ukraine right before the elections because there will be no competition, to the advantage of a company which has ties to the ruling party, and for an unlimited term. The controversial situation prevented the finance ministry from approving the license requirements. The gambling business continues its almost heedless existence. The parliament has to solve this on the legislative level, to distinguish between lotteries and other gambling and implement a control system. A work group headed by the radical MP Oleg Lyshko takes care of numerous bills on the topic. Seems like that's where they're buried. The lobbyists block it. When did the work group meet last? Which group? Ask the committee. I'm asking you, its head. That's all. Let's sum these sad things up. Today, the country, all of us, are presented with two stunning options by the government. Option 1. They create a kind of decent monopoly. The gambling business remains illegal. This is important, I'd like to stress that. But it can freely operate if it pays tribute to the PPB group.
може відкрито працювати, якщо сплачує данину БППшній групі.
The tribute can be of any amount, because the business remains banned, and if you don't pay, you get out of the market.
Пішов геть з ринку.
That's a horrible option, but we're told that the only way to avoid it is to lift the sanctions from similar firms with Russian roots.
З таких самих компаній з російським корінням.
This is nonsense too. Hey, I remember the sanctions being introduced several years ago, including after our investigations. I remember being happy about them myself, but the goal was to create transparent, competitive rules on the gray market, not to put everyone under a single ruling party group. You know, they've created a situation where we have to choose from two bad options again. Now they're going to advocate for either of them. They tell us about the pros and cons to divert attention from the question of how did we again end up in a situation where we have to choose from two equally disturbing options, and who's to blame for that?
І хто, до речі, в цьому винен?
Also, I want to remind you about this short one-year-old video of a nocturnal meeting of Petro Poroshenko bloc members, where Tretyakov and the prosecutor general discuss something at midnight in a hotel restaurant, right when the lottery business had legal problems. The town is asleep. Old friends meet. One of the most expensive hotels in Kyiv, the Intercontinental, 11 p.m. An MP of the Petro Poroshenko bloc, Alexander Tretyakov, is in the lobby bar. He messages while waiting for someone. In a couple of minutes, he is joined by the Prosecutor General Yuriy Lutsenko and the ex-head of the presidential administration, Boris Loshkin. What can the Prosecutor General and an MP of the ruling party talk about at midnight? This question visibly irritates Yuriy Lutsenko. What did you discuss with the MP? It's 11:35 p.m. That's my private life. We discuss what men discuss amongst themselves. Alexander Tretyakov pointed to the glass. The participants called this a meeting of old friends, but they left the scene as soon as we filmed them. I'm a journalist of Our Money. They had a similar folder on their table, covered with white sheets of paper. The folder was delivered by the person who sat next to Alexander Tretyakov when he was waiting for his friends. Then it was spotted near Boris Loshkin. Alexander Tretyakov couldn't remember what the papers were about. I don't know what was in the documents. I don't have to meet Lutsenko at midnight to give him any documents. I really don't want to pass anything when we sit and drink at night. I've been friends with him for 17 years, before prison, in prison, and after prison. The Prosecutor General isn't the MP's only law enforcement friend. Here's another one, the SBU's head Vasyl Hrutsak. I've known him for 15 years, since the 2004 Maidan when he helped us. Friday, the eve of the day of the SBU. At 4 p.m., we spotted Alexander Tretyakov's Mercedes by the SBU's building. I came to congratulate the SPU on their 25th anniversary. Isn't it normal? Who else was there? Oh, around 20 to 30 people, as if I knew them all. Can you do any business at the 25th anniversary? It's vodka drinking time, but that's working hours. You turn 25 years old only once in a lifetime. And that's the searches of the UNL. It's the biggest player on the domestic lottery market. They're looking for an illegal currency exchange in the firm's office. There are no illegal currency exchange centers in the Ukrainian National Lottery's office. We don't know why this address was put on the search warrant issued by the Shevchensky District Court. Tretyakov himself attended the searches. Mr. Alexander Tretyakov. Tretyakov refused to talk to us about his links to the UNL and about the reasons for his visit to the firm's office during the searches. I don't remember. I have amnesia. Wait, but I don't remember. You can't bar my way. You can't bar my way. You can't bar my way. Please give me an answer. The law enforcers have had no issues with the UNL since then. That's all for today. You can watch any of our episodes on our YouTube channel, write us on social media, you can even swear in the comment section. If you have an interesting topic, feel free to email us. See you on air in a week. This was Bihus with the program Our Money. Goodbye.
Наші гроші. До зустрічі.